Okay, so welcome to another Lot 49 video. Today I want to get a few more things off my chest. We have it's just me talking about stuff that my thoughts on a couple of events that have taken place this week, or continuations of previous events, or two of them at least. Right, let's start off with talk about an Israeli attack on Iran in response to the one a couple of weeks ago. They fired 180 rockets into Israel, hit their main air base, Mossad headquarters, and a few other sites. What the Israelis will attack in response. There's been some talk about them attacking. The attacks, the targets seem to vary from oil infrastructure, which is something I think the Americans have been pushing for, whereas the Israelis themselves have been pushing for an attack on the nuclear infrastructure. Attacking that might be something that the Israelis themselves are not able to do by themselves, so they may need American assistance for that. They may not be able to damage the nuclear infrastructure because the Iranians have been building all of these facilities underground. Hello squirrel. Pigeon. Maybe this isn't the best place for taking a walk and filming this, since there's probably a motorway at least 100 meters away. Anyway, yeah. All of these facilities are underground. The Israelis probably don't have the firepower to damage them, so they may need to require American involvement, which is why the Americans have been pushing for attacks on oil infrastructure instead. Because they're happy to defend Israel in any manner possible, happy to give weapons to Israel, all the firepower they could want, but they're not interested in fighting a war for Israel or getting dragged into one of its offensives. So I think the oil infrastructure may be more likely, or they'll attack more leaders, more leaderships, and there'll be more assassinations, Israel may do. Attacking the oil infrastructure may trigger a regional war, however. Well, I suppose attacking the nuclear infrastructure will. There's been talk about Iran may simply go nuclear after this point, and if the nuclear infrastructure is attacked, and build their own nuclear weapons, which are apparently they're able to do quite quickly if they need to. And that would definitely bring about the end of Israel, well, as an economic and cultural power, I guess. They would lose influence. That's probably an extremely mild way of saying it. If a lot of their wealth comes from tourism, who wants to visit a site that has been nuked? Nobody. I mean, the tourism industry seems to be falling off the edge of a cliff right now. But doing this right by a golf course seems to be a good idea. You've got plenty of space. Get away from everything. What else was I saying? Yes, they may find an attack an air assault on Iran even harder now because of the S-400 anti-aircraft systems that Russia has given Iran. Given that in the Ukrainian war zone the Russian Air Force was kept at bay by all of the old S-300 anti-aircraft systems and that were left over from their time in the Soviet Union, and given that that was about third of a century ago, 35 years, yeah, probably 35 years now, but a modern air force can be kept at bay by air defence system at least a third of a century old. I would imagine the S-400s would be capable of, would have been designed with to take down modern American aircraft like the F-35s. So I would imagine the F-35s the Israelis have would not be as effective as they would once have been. But Iran is a large country and it's difficult to defend everywhere in such a large area. I think the oil infrastructure is probably going to be the most likely target, although that may cause a regional war that may involve Iran blockade. I don't know if it will involve. I don't know if the original strategy for Iran, if it was attacked, was to blockade the Straits of Hormuz. I think that's the term, which would prevent all of the oil coming out of eastern Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. This would in turn cause oil markets to skyrocket, causing hyperinflation of product costs across the globe. This is obviously something the US is not terribly interested in, causing that much global chaos, because they're not prepared for the outcome of that. Well, I'm sure they would take advantage of some of it. I think most of it would be beyond their control. That's a nice cottage, nice trees, loud place. So now, okay, on to Ukraine. There has been talk about from Europeans about a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Talk about such a deal being proposed and developed. This deal would involve Ukraine temporarily ceding this territory to Russia in exchange for NATO membership. But this is not an agreement the Russians will agree to. They have not fought all this long for just a ceasefire, just to allow the Ukrainians to rearm, which is something they cannot do. Even if there was a ceasefire, Ukrainians would never be able to rearm. They've lost so much during this conflict. They're so debt-ridden to the West. It's not humane to allow Ukraine to carry on with the false hope of any victory, either now or in the future. Yeah, this is probably the worst place to actually film by a motorway, but I shall carry on, and hopefully my loud voice will overcome the sound of dozens of cars hurtling past. Yes, and obviously in Ukraine the Banderites are not interested in this deal either. So while the West is talking about it in the hopes of getting some space to stabilise the situation, it's not going to happen. There's no desire for it on either side. Now, on to some more. That was pretty. Sea of yellow leaves. Autumn is here. I thought this route was nice because it's in space from everyone, so I can't do this interrupted, but I didn't realise it would take us this close to the motorway. Anyway, oh yes, the good news. Sharma Sawant has used her Workers' Strike Back organisation to bring the Green Party and the Abandon Harris campaigns together. So the Abandon Harris campaign has now started to support Jill Stein and the Green Party's attempts to get elected. And there has been talk about that this is pretty pointless, but the Green Party can't win. I don't know about that. There's a difference between having the possibility of winning, even if it's like 1 in 1,000, simply because you've put in all of the work to go to all of the states and get yourselves in some manner on the ballot, even if it's just write-ins, which in some states can legally be accepted. Last time they were actually able to get themselves on enough states that it was technically possible for Howie Hawkins, for him to actually win the US presidential election. Now, as I say, there is a difference between the possibility and the probability. It was possible for Howie Hawkins to win. It was highly improbable that he was going to win. Extremely improbable. But if you don't put in the effort to get to the possibility, you can never get to the stage where you're going to end up with a probability. And this is, it's good to see these organisations working together and building up a platform for the future. Because every time we've had an election in the US, the progressives seem to get together behind a candidate, and when that falls through, they just abandon all attempts at working towards a future. They don't build upon any of their past works. So hopefully this will stand, this will continue, and there will be a future for progressive politics in the US, something that gets further than it has previously. Anyway, that is my rant for the week. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, share, do stuff like that. Have a good week, and I will hopefully see you next one. Bye.